What's up, guys? Now let's discuss common encoding styles used in modern API architectures. So we'll be discussing textual data formats. So let's introduce this. Web APIs communicate over the network, and data needs to be serialized before being transmitted onto the network. And we can serialize using different serialization methods, such as Marshall in Ruby, Pickle in Python, serializable in Java, etc. These methods are generally inefficient in regard to CPU utilization and encoded data size. Developers prefer standardized encoding data formats such as XML, JSON, protobuf, etc. Right? And let's talk about textual representation formats, right? So some examples of this are JSON, XML, and CSV. They all use Unicode characters or text. They support encoding in many languages. Most popular way clients interact with web APIs is by serializing data into XML or JSON, right? And CSV is less powerful because it doesn't support data hierarchy, and it's used mostly for data in a tabular form. And, if you have a standardized encoding style, clients can consume and deserialize it, right? And so text-based representation formats have the following common characteristics. It's schemaless structure, right? So data-related information is embedded within the format structure. It's machine readable, so data is well structured and easily interpreted by machines. It's human readable. Data is represented in Unicode and humans can read that. Also, the object representation, data can embed programming objects in a well-defined format, right? So let's talk about XML. So XML is extensible markup language, and it's a restricted form or subset of standard generalized markup language, and it's designed for storing and exchanging data on the web. And it has a very similar structure to HTML documents. It has custom tags to define elements, and tags can be used as keys to identify data. Elements values are stored within an opening and closing tag. And so in XML, the tag XML in the XML document defines the XML version and encoding style used in the document and is part of the processing instructions for applications. So here's our XML tag, and we have our version and encoding style. And it follows a tree-based structure, right? As we saw in our last slide, we have our tree structure right here. We have our message, and our head and body are children of the message, and then our body is our author and our text, right? So here we have, so I guess our message tag is the root element, and our head and body tags are children of the message element, right? And then author and text are children of the body, right? And so let's talk about the advantages of XML. So it provides robust and extensible structural representation using namespaces to define and reuse data-related information in a standard way. It supports XPath and XQuery. It's very flexible and highly portable, used in many different domains. XML is widely used in electronic data interchange to quickly and securely access information between different systems. So SOAP uses XML, and XML offers streamlined methods for accessing information, XPath, XQuery, etc., and its search results are very precise. Because of this simplicity and efficiency in obtaining information, XML is popular in the web automation industry for building crawlers and web bots. And XML supports the storage and exchange of complex data in a standardized way. For example, it's used in the wireless communication industry, such as voice web, personal digital assistants, and so on. So let's talk about the limitations of XML. It has repeated declaration of tags, and that makes it very verbose. And because of this verbosity, it has a large file size because of the amount of tags. And XML lacks built-in mechanisms for distinguishing numbers from strings, and it has a lack of support for binary strings. And although XML supports optional schema definitions, applications tend to hardcode their logic to interpret data. So now let's talk about JSON. JSON is JavaScript object notation, and it's a subset of JavaScript, and it's famous for built-in browser support, and it handles client-side and server-side scripts with added benefit of simplicity and readability, and it has a colon-separated key-value pairs to describe data attributes. It supports 4 primitive data types: strings, numbers, booleans, and null. And so data is structured as follows, right? You have your left curly tag, which is the start of an object, and then you have your right curly tag to signify the end of an object, and then you can have a key value pair, so a colon separates our key from our value. You can have an open square bracket to start a list, right? And then you can have a right square bracket to end the array or list, and you have commas to separate between your key value pairs, right? And so JSON allows nested arrays and objects. So a message is an object, right? And members of this object are head and body, and they're also objects nested inside. And all keys are represented by either a string, a number, a Boolean array, an object, or null, right? And let's talk about the advantages of JSON. So the goal is to be structurally minimal while being very portable and flexible. And it's language independent and it has a lower learning curve than XML, and gaining more and more attention with the increased popularity of Node.js. It's lightweight and parses faster than XML, and more compact and lower network latency than XML. So it also has limitations, and basically there lacks to be a standard way to define and reuse common descriptions for JSON documents. It lacks a built-in way to distinguish between numbers and floats, and it does not support precision beyond 253 for a 64-bit numeric representation, and can cause parsing errors. And let's do a feature comparison between the two formats. So for the feature human readability, they both are human readable, but XML takes a little bit longer to understand than JSON. Latency, XML has higher latency, but because it has a larger file size, but JSON is lower because it's more compact. So for standardization, XML supports partial standardization using namespaces and optional schema. And JSON, developers don't use keys in a standardized way, and the use of optional schema is not very common. And both of them, since they're text-based formats, are not very machine-friendly. And in terms of interoperability, XML is used in multiple domains and can deal with a variety of different systems. And JSON is popular with JavaScript-based systems, but can also be used in other applications. And they're both fully compatible in terms of flexibility. So let's quickly do a quiz. So why is JSON so popular in web applications? So JSON is designed to represent the data structures present in most programming languages without having to learn tree-based data binding provided by formats like XML. So the semantics are very similar to programming languages, which make it very easy to learn and understand. It's easy to understand, how to store a list or how to create an object using JSON. And when should we prefer XML over JSON? And in this case, when the data contains very complex structures, like in books, articles, or other data sets, XML can represent documents containing various data structures because it represents data in a tree-like format, and that makes it easier to manage different data structures in a very organized way. It also supports methods such as XPath and XQuery, which are suitable for large metadata sets representing complex structures. So hopefully you learned something. Thanks for watching.